So Paul in 1 Thessalonians 5 said these words, and yet it is some of the most quoted words in the Bible by Christians, and Christians have no idea what Paul is talking about. Today I'm going to see if I can shine some light on who is saying peace and safety. Okay? But the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for you yourselves know perfectly, with exactness, that the day of not the Lord, as I have shown you many times, but the day of Jehovah's wrath, as written about at the end of Joel 2, so comes as a thief in the night. For indeed, when or whenever, make sure we get context, or whenever a specific condition is fulfilled. Now, so it has to be a time when the mantra of the day is peace and safety. All right? Then sudden destruction shall come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. The implication is they're going to try desperately to escape, and they can't. Now, it says, you, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. In other words, those of you who are tuned in to the truth about Israel's imminent salvation, you can see this event that Paul is speaking of. You can see it coming as plain as day, because you are children of the day and not of the night. You are children of light and not children of darkness. The children of darkness cannot see it coming. They are trapped in enchantment that this society, this age brings. Every kind of food at the grocery store is available to them. Transportation in the most luxurious styles. The most fancy name brand clothing. I can go on and on. All of these things. The latest cell phones. All of these things has trapped the masses into unbelief. The inability to believe that this event is going to smash Western civilization. But you are children of the light, children of the day. We are not children of the night nor of darkness. All right. Now, where did Paul get this statement for when they shall say? I did several videos on this a couple of years ago. I want to go back to it. And it is concerning Yehoshua HaMoshiach. Psalm 69 and verse 21, they gave me gall for food, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. Who did this? Who gave him gall and vinegar to drink? Any guesses? Roman soldier, Gentile. Now, if I'll continue, and I'm going to make a statement here. Let their table become a gin, a bird trap, facing them, and let peace, soundness, peace and safety, shalom is the Hebrew word, but in English it's peace and safety. Let it become the bait, the trip line. Let their eyes be darkened, children of darkness, that they see not, and make their loins continually to shake. Pour out your indignation upon them, and let your wrathful anger take hold of them. Let their habitation be desolate, and let nobody live in their lands, in their tents. Chase them, smite them, recount the grief, the pain of those that they have killed. And I have done a lot of that in my videos, recounted all the pain and suffering that Christians have imposed upon the Jews, upon other peoples, and upon each other. And today, right now, as we speak, it is happening again. But where did this, when they shall say peace and safety, come from? Or where? What is it? What is it that Paul is talking about? Peace and security. Where is this statement located? United Nations. So, what is the point of the United Nations? Well, here's a statement of peace and safety, or security. To save succeeding generations from the scourge of war are among the first very words of the UN Charter in its preamble. And those words were the main motivation for creating the United Nations, whose founders had lived through the devastation of 2 world wars by 1945. So Paul's peace and safety statement was in reference to a time when the nations, when the Gentiles will get together and say that we are going to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. Since the creation of the UN on 24th of October 1945, the United Nations has often been called upon to prevent disputes from escalation into war, or to help restore peace following the outbreak of armed conflicts, and to promote lasting peace in societies emerging from wars. Over the decades, the UN has helped to end numerous conflicts often through actions of the Security Council, the organ with primary responsibility under the United Nations Charter for the maintenance of international peace and security. When it receives a complaint about a threat to peace, the Council first recommends that the parties seek an agreement by peaceful means. In some cases, the Council itself investigates and mediates. It may appoint special representatives or request the Secretary General to do so, or to use his good offices. It may set forth principles of peaceful settlement, on and on and on. And you got the whole deal here. Preventing genocide and responsibility to protect, etc. It's just, all right. And then you'll see the preamble right here. We, the people of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, etc. And for these ends, to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors, and to unite our strength to maintain international peace and security, to ensure by the acceptance of principles and the institutions and methods that armed force shall not be used except in the common interest, etc. And you see here, this is another one. Our work maintain international peace and safety. And of course, back in the days when Donald Trump was coming up with his peace plan for Israel and the Arabs, the Fakestinians, I would troll him with these videos. I would troll the Christians because they were the ones that were talking about how the Antichrist is going to promise peace and safety. And so I would troll you Christians with these videos. Christians sleep while Trump announces peace and safety in a coalition of nations. Antichrist peace agreement in White House. September 15, 2020 blows up Christians' false narrative. And I chided and scolded you Christians for not following up on your false narrative by calling Donald Trump the Antichrist. You wouldn't do it. Even did this video. Is Donald Trump the Antichrist? And my, oh my, oh my, I got a lot of feedback from that video, both on BitChute and YouTube. Now, so I did a video back in August the 2nd, 2020, and I want to play a little bit of it for you. This is concerning the British mandate, and I want to point something out. This map right here is the British mandate, and it was supposed to be for the Jews. All right, so go ahead and play a little clip from this video of the past.
All right. Remember this guy, Herbert Samuel? You heard his name? A British Jew who served as first High Commissioner of Palestine, as they say, placed restrictions on Jewish immigration in the interest of the present population and the absorptive capacity of the country. Well, the promise was to have a homeland for the Jews in Palestine, as they say. So now they stopped it because the lack of absorptive capacity of the country. So what they did is, instead of keeping the promise of the first part of the Balfour Declaration, they only went with the second part, which was added later. But the first part is the promise that was made that cannot be broken. The influx of Jewish settlers was said to be forcing the Arab Fellahin from their land. This was at a time when less than 1 million people lived in an area that now supports more than 6 million people.
You see what the British did? And then they paid a Jew to enforce this. Treachery, treachery, treachery. Let's continue.
You see the treachery here, folks? The British actually limited the absorptive capacity of Palestine by partitioning the country. Joel 3.
They parted my land.
In 1921, Colonel Secretary Winston Churchill rewarded Sharif Hussein's son Abdullah for his contribution to the war. Didn't reward the Jews at all for their contribution to the war. They baited the Jews to jump on their side with a promise. A bold promise of a homeland for the people of the Jews in, as they say, Palestine. And then they add an addendum. A knife in the back of the Jews to the Balfour Declaration. Abdullah's son, or Hussein's son Abdullah, for his contribution to the war against Turkey. As a consolation prize for the Hijaz and Arabia going to the Saudi family, Churchill installed him as emir. Churchill severed nearly 4/5. Okay, 4/5 of the land that was promised to the Jews and gave it to Transjordan.
And there you have it, folks. People, the British, the Protestant religion, which the vast majority of the people of the United States of America have sold their souls to, made a promise to restore the land that Hadrian called Palestine, to restore that land back to the Jews. And then they reneged on that promise. Now, if you look at my links that I added below, the British then lost the mandate in 1948, and then the UN took up the cursed partition plan in 1949. Peace and safety, peace and security continue to block the door of the Jews to the Holy Land. And they made excuses. But these excuses were unfounded, and furthermore, it was for the sake of oil. Promised access to Arabian oil that the British and the United Nations stabbed the Jews in the back. So the British owed so much money to the U.S. that it took until 2006 to pay it off. Got a link right there. The USA takes over as world leader as the British Empire is diminished. Presidents of the U.S. after president demands that Israel give up land for peace. The USA insists that the Holy Land remains partitioned. As a result, the U.S. will receive poetic justice. For example, when they say, "And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible," the USA will become balkanized or partitioned by war. Okay? And it will. What kind of war? It's starting to become very clear. If you're paying attention. Now, I have read reports that Russia has only a month's supply of military weapons. I might go and Google that and show it to you. But I want to read an article from War News 24/7. Commission bombshell statements. The Ukrainian army has collapsed. 100,000 dead and 200,000 injured. Special court against Russia announced. A storm of reaction inside and outside Ukraine was caused by the statement of the head commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who revealed that more than 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers and 20,000 civilians have been killed so far. The number given by her are completely identical to the estimates of the Russian Ministry of Defense and last report of the Ukrainian 4 months ago. If the dead are over 100,000, then the wounded soldiers must be over 200,000, maybe 250,000. This means that Russia has wiped out an entire army of 300,000 men, which shows what is happening on the battlefields. Of course, she quickly deleted the tweet. And at the same time, in a dangerous development, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, proposed the creation of a special court with the support of the United Nations to investigate and prosecute the crime of Russian aggression in Ukraine. The EU and Russia are not just moving head-on, they are laying the foundations for the globalization of the conflict. We remind you that recently the European Parliament, as well as 30 members of the Atlantic Alliance, adopted a resolution recognizing Russia as a terrorist state. Now what I want to do is go ahead and Google Russia has 1 month. It was all over the place. Let's see here. Now I won't be able to find it. Maybe it's this one. Oh, and by the way, that's a long time ago. So there has been a new mobilization effort. If I find the 1 month deal, I will add it in the link below. But the mobilization is now about 1,300,000 women, men, and 300,000 women. New. Try 300,000 women. It'll come up now when I do that. Nope. Might have to go back to War News. I will find it eventually, but I want to show you this too. The title is Putin wants victory at all costs in Ukraine. There is no option to lose. Political analysts say, according to CNBC, when Russia invaded Ukraine in February, no one in the Russian president's inner circle expected the war to last more than a few months. As temperatures drop and Russian forces are again confronted with the conditions they are experiencing during the invasion at the beginning of the war, Moscow faces protracted war that could last several more months, with military casualties and the possibility of defeat. Keep in the back of your mind the article where defeat is not an option. However, Russian analysts stress that this scenario is disastrous for Putin and the Kremlin, and they have bet on victory against Ukraine. The same analyst told CNBC the concern is growing in Moscow about the progress of war. For the first time since the beginning of the war, people are starting to consider the worst case scenario that Russia could lose. They don't see and they don't understand how Russia can come out of this conflict without being destroyed. People are this is on CNBC. People are very worried that they would think that what is happening is a disaster, she pointed out. Russia has already suffered some losses by withdrawing from Kiev, then from Kharkiv, and recently withdrew from a chunk of Kherson, an area that the Russian president had said would forever be a part of Russia just 6 weeks before the retreat. Kremlin-friendly commentators and military analysts have been heavily critical of Russian military leadership for these defeats, while most have been careful not to directly criticize Putin, which would be a dangerous move in a country which criticism of war or in special military operation, as the Kremlin calls it, can result in prison sentence. Another Russian analyst argues that Putin is increasingly desperate not to lose the war. The very fact that Russia is still waging this war despite its apparent defeats in March, when its forces withdrew from Kiev, shows that Putin is desperate not to lose. Losing is not an option for him. Ilya Matveev, a political scientist and academic, told CNBC, I think everyone, including Putin, has already realized that even tactical nuclear weapons will not solve the problem for Russia. They cannot simply stop the military advances of the Ukrainian army. It is impossible. Can you see now that the world is in a trap? In the days of the United Nations, when the United Nations charter is peace and safety. Now, since the British lost their mandate, it was given to the United Nations. Now the whole of the United Nations is guilty. Of the breaking of the promise to Israel, depriving the Jews of 4/5 of the land that they were promised. The whole world is now guilty. And I want to leave you with a scripture. This might be the end of this video. I'm not sure. We'll go to Isaiah 24. Jehovah, not the Lord, makes the earth empty and makes it waste. So it goes from being luxuriant, see, to making it waste. You see what King James Version did? The earth was a luxuriant earth. This is the snare. The delusion that the people are in, they don't see the destruction coming. Jehovah makes the luxuriant earth, makes it waste, laid waste. And he turned it upside down and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. I want everyone to understand this. There will be nobody living in these lands. There will be nobody living in Europe. There will be nobody living in the United States, South America, Russia, Iran, Africa, the Far East. All the Gentiles are going to have to leave their own lands. These lands will be left empty and desolate. Not only will be there nuclear war, but there will be 3.5 years of no rain upon the earth. From the mouth of the two witnesses in Revelation 11. The earth will become uninhabitable. The numbers of the people on the earth will go from 8+ billion people to a very small number. I'm not exaggerating, folks. So with the people, so with the priest. The same with the servant, with the master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. In other words, all people, great and small. Okay? The lands will go from being luxuriant to be utterly spoiled and plundered. Because Jehovah has spoken this word, this speech. The earth mourns and is in disgrace, fades away, be senseless and foolish, to languish, to drop down, to wither and fall. Why? 3.5 years of no rain will do that, plus the other plagues that the two witnesses are bringing. The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Why? Why? They have transgressed. They literally have wiped their rear ends with the Torah. They changed the ordinances, and they broke the everlasting covenant. They blocked the people, the Jews, from going back to their homeland. Jeremiah 31 verses 31 through 34 states exactly, and you need to read all of 30 and 31, and then you'll because Jeremiah 31 is the New Covenant chapter. So read that from top to bottom, and then you will understand how they broke the everlasting covenant the Gentiles did. And because of this, a curse has devoured the earth. What curse is that? The curse is in this Zechariah 14. Right here. And this shall be the plague wherewith Jehovah shall smite all the people that have invaded Jerusalem. Now go and do your Google search and look up all the races of people who invaded Jerusalem. And look at their religions. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Their eyes shall consume away in the holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. In that day, a great tumult, chaos, confusion from Jehovah himself shall be among them, shall be strong. I submit to you today that great tumult is taking place right now. They shall lay hold every one on the hand of his brother, on his neighbor, and on the hand of his neighbor shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Yehudah will also be at war in Jerusalem. And in the aftermath, when all the dust is settled, the Gentiles are completely defeated. All the wealth of the Gentiles round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, and apparel of great abundance. And this plague will afflict, this plague, this nuclear plague will affect the horses, the mules, the camels, the donkeys, and all the beasts that will be in these tents. Tents is in reference to lands. These lands will be annihilated by this plague that Jehovah places upon them. Okay? That is the curse. And those that dwell in there are desolate, and the inhabitants of the earth will be burned alive in the manner that you have just read. And there will only be a few, a trifling few men left. Are you ready for it? Now, let us continue. And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left of all the Goy, the Gentiles, which came against Jerusalem, shall go up from year to year to worship the King, Jehovah of hosts, and to keep the feast of booths. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King. This is in the days of the two witnesses, I'm certain. Because it says there will be no rain for them. Now if Egypt goes not up, and there used to be not being any rain, Jehovah will smite the Gentiles that come not up to the Feast of Tabernacles with another plague. Interestingly enough, there are multiple plagues. The two witnesses are going to be inflicting for 3.5 years on the earth. They will be ordering the Gentiles to bring all Israel in. As you can read in Isaiah 66, the latter half, and Isaiah 60. The Feast of Tabernacles for the Israel will no longer be the Feast of Booths. It will be the Feast of Ingathering. And it will be the Gentiles who will be forced to live in booths, away from their homeland. That's how they will be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths, Sukkot. You have learned today what is going to happen. In the past, I have told everyone to have a food supply ready. Indeed, everyone should have a food supply ready. It is actually tempting Jehovah not to have a food supply ready. But your food supply is not going to save anyone from what is about to happen. I don't know how much more descriptive and clear I have to be. The Russians have no intention of losing this war to the last nuclear weapon. I want you to think about the consequences and realize that the day of Jehovah's wrath is upon this world. It's at the door. I hope you are ready.